everybody, welcome back. As you can see, not much has changed here. I have my same hat, same hoodie, in the same basement. However, our friends at Veve have definitely enhanced their system some. And as we know, in the past couple of weeks, they have allowed us to use our MCP points, which finally completes the circle.
The circle is now complete.
They've been giving us points for all these years, and we finally are able to spend it on something. And we've seen some interesting behaviors. I definitely want to talk about that. And as I promised, kind of over in multiple videos over the last couple years, is once we had more information on that, I wanted to do some analysis and kind of figure out, quote unquote, is MCP worth it? So when you say, is MCP worth it? I think basically what you're saying is, I'm going to invest some money into these comics and collectibles, and is there going to be a return? That's what I think generally most people say worth it. I think there's other value, obviously. You have the collectibles, you're part of the community, but for now, let's just look at the pure, dollars and cents. As always, this is not financial advice. This gives you a chance to look at how I'm going to approach these types of systems that they're putting in place. Do I want to put more money into the system? Is there a chance for a return? So I'm going to dig into the numbers as much as possible. There is some math here, so I don't want to scare you. But I'll do my best to go through that quickly, and we'll come to some conclusions, and hopefully you'll find it interesting. Definitely, if you have questions and whatnot, put them below or DM me on Twitter. I'm more than, or if I make some mistakes here, some bad assumptions, definitely tell me about that as well. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so as I said, the MCP program, from the perspective of being able to use your points, went live a couple weeks ago. We've seen kind of different tests, but the first really big scarce drop happened just a couple days ago, and that was the Happy Lunar New Year Dragon drop. And what I mean by scarce, and I'm going to use some of these numbers, it was about 1,000 mints and 88. They held back some SRs. So that was the really first scarce drop, and people burned a bunch of points. I'll go through that. So when I'm trying to put together kind of a mathematical model or do some analysis on it, you kind of always want to find these kind of pillars that you can make assumptions based off of. So for example, if you're like calculating like inflation or something like that, you might want to look at the price of bread. That's kind of like something, or a price of a gallon of milk, and they track that over the years, and they're looking at inflation. But there's definitely a number that they try to build their model off of. And so for me, we have three interesting numbers here that have been provided, and we've really only seen in the last couple weeks. And I'll talk about those. Okay, so the first number that's very interesting is it is 5,000 MCP to bid. We didn't know that before. So the minimum is 5,000. The second interesting number is, of course, that we learned is that for this first big scarce drop, the average amount that people bid was 42,000 points, which is crazy because I know we've been accumulating them over the years, but that just seems like a really, really big number. And the minimum to win one was 22,000. Remember that number, 22,000 points to win. The average was 42,000. And then, of course, as I mentioned before earlier, the third important number is the mint size. There was 1,000 mints, and then 10% of those were SRs. So we're going to do some averaging here, some estimates. So about 100 of them were secret rares. So you had about a 10% chance to win the secret rare. So those are the three things that I kind of want to build my model around. So let's kind of now dig in a little bit deeper and pretend, we're going to invest some money here. What do we think we could get out? So right now, if you look at a lot of different websites that track different things on Veve, I like to use the website vevesetlist.com. You can sort by the cheapest collectible or comic. And right now, you can get stuff for $3 MCP point. If you don't care what it is, you're just buying, you don't care what, you're just trying to get points. And but as more people accumulate, you can already see that floor is rising. And so I anticipate pretty quickly, maybe, I'll guess, maybe in the next month or two, it's going to probably be around $4 per MCP point for the cheapest stuff. So let's do some numbers. So if you were to take $2,000, throw it into the app, and buy the cheapest stuff, you would be probably getting around, using our $4 number, you'd be getting around 500 points a day. And if you kind of go forward, 500 points a day, there's 30 days in a month. So you'd be getting, I did some of the math here, roughly 15,000 points a month. But remember now, the minimum to win in that last kind of scarce drop was 22,000. So you wouldn't have enough. You could maybe do 6 big drops a year. Okay, so let's just use that. 6 big drops a year. Now that kind of fits into what Veve generally does too. They don't do a scarce, really potentially gangbuster drop every day. They generally do about one a month. Maybe as they get more users, they'll do more. But they generally, so there's maybe 12 big chances for some of these a year. So that kind of is in line with that. So you would, as I said, because of with this $2,000, you'd be able to do it 6 times. You'd have to choose which 6 you want to go for a year, bid your 22,000 or a little bit more maybe, and go for it. Now, as we said, just because you go for it doesn't mean you get the SR. Another assumption I'm going to make is if you don't get the SR, you could sell it right away and you're going to lose a little bit of money, but you're basically going to get your money back. But the SR in this situation, what we saw is that it was at $20. It was a 35 times. It was going for $700 in the open market, in the secondary, after it dropped. So we can do some numbers here. So if you had 6 tries to win at a 10%, chance, your chance of winning it over the year is around 45%, 47%, something like that. Once again, guesstimates here. So basically, investing the $2,000 would give you a 45% chance to win $700, because the other times you'd lose. And $700 off of your $2,000 that you invested would be a 35% return over the year. Now, I said a lot of numbers there. Let's just summarize it quickly here. Basically, you invest $2,000 into the system. You get a bunch of MCP points. 6 times you go for very, very scarce drops. If you win the SR, you sell it 1 time. You win $700. You sell it and make $700, and that would be 35% return on your $2,000, which is actually pretty good. It's not double your money, but if you did the numbers again, and I'll save you the whole conversation, but basically it becomes much more interesting if you would do $3,000, if you invested $3,000, because then you're getting 750 points a day. It actually then allows you to go after one of these scarce drops every month. And because you have 12 chances to win an SR and get 35 times your money, in that scenario, you actually have 71% chance to get a 35% return. And of course, you could get more than one SR, right? So, and we could do numbers on that. But basically, all those numbers, if you want to translate that, what that means to me, and there's certainly people that are much smarter than me and going to do much more exhaustive analysis than I did on the back of a napkin here. It tells me that, and I haven't even talked about OMI or bronze tickets or any of this stuff, but what it tells me is there are specific break points in the MCP that when you throw in some money and then you bid the points on very scarce things and win SRs, there's a relatively good % chance that you could get a reasonable return just selling the stuff on the secondary. I think that bodes very well for the MCP. I think that even the ability to spend points to get into the waiting list, the preferred waiting list, even that there's going to be much, much more you can spend your MCP points on. So all in all, my analysis to this point is that this kind of new beginning that we have where we're able to spend our points, they're going to offer additional things. I am very bullish on it all. I think it's very exciting, and I'll be interested to see what happens next. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll talk to y'all soon.